Hello and welcome to Soft Days. I'm your host, Daisy, and today we're diving into episode 3, part 2 of this season. I took a couple of days off for my birthday. It was beautiful, you guys. I am 34 years old and I am so thankful. Thank you so much for the love and the messages I have received. I'm blessed. Before we start, I just want to say this was not an easy conversation to have. These are memories we don't talk about often, and they're heavy. Maria was able to send me her voice clips, and Lupita recorded a couple before she couldn't anymore. So I'll be reading the rest of her answers. Cindy couldn't record, but she wrote down what she wanted to say. If I mention about my sister Cindy, she is on. She was the one adding bonus, so she was able to write hers out. She's a writer anyway, so I give her that. Darlene and Vanessa didn't get a chance to send theirs, and that's okay. This is the kind of topic you share when you're ready. I'm just thankful for what each of my sisters felt ready to give in their own way. So here's how today will go. You will hear my sisters' voices where they were able to record their answers, and for the questions they couldn't record, I'll be reading their words for them. I'll guide us through by asking each question out loud so you can follow along with what each sister answered for these questions. The questions were probably like 5 questions each one. Let's start with introductions. I asked each of my sisters to begin by saying, "Hi, my name is," and I'm Daisy's sister.
Hi, my name is Maria, and I'm Daisy's sister.
Hi, my name is Lupe and I'm Daisy's sister.
That was Lupita. She was able to record her intro and answer one question in her own voice, and I'll be sharing the rest of her words for today. So let's get started. Question 1. How did you feel growing up in the foster care system? It could be a first memory of foster care. How did you feel? Did you feel confused? Were you scared, protected? One person or thing that helped you cope during that time.
I first went into foster care when I was 3 years old, I believe. I'm not sure if I was younger or older. A lot of things are still unclear to me. But as far as I can remember, the first memory I have was I was on the porch at my new foster home with my sister Cindy. And she told me that I could pick a new name, any name that I want. And I said that my name, I wanted it to be Cinderella. I felt confused. I didn't really understand what was going on. It was very hard to adjust to that family and that environment and make friends at my new school, only to be ripped away from that house and into a new one. So I feel like it really did take a big toll on my brain development and my social skills.
So growing up in the foster care system, I want to say I felt at first confused. I mean, I was only 4, and I just remember my first memory is them picking us up from my aunt's house. And I was with my sister Vanessa, and we got placed in our first foster home. And I had my 5th birthday there. And I remember having a cake, and after that I was still confused, like, where are we? But, it's fine. I did somewhat feel safe. I didn't understand. I don't know what was going on. But I was just glad, that I was able to have these visitations with my sisters and my brother on the weekends. And that's one thing that I feel like helped me cope, during that situation during the time. So, it did help a lot.
I'm going to go ahead and read Cindy's question back. Cindy mentioned alone and envious. Our first time in foster care, our foster mom and foster dad argued a lot, and Cindy tried to comfort my sister Daisy and Vanessa. And we were in place together the second time we got taken away, but we were removed from my aunt's house as, we were abused there. Cindy went on to say, what helped me a lot, I don't know, but somehow knowing a familiar place helps me get through it. The fear of experiencing new people and places. And it's true, a lot of foster homes, foster system decides to put siblings together. And that's where, to make it easier for us for the transition being in the system. Question 2, what memory shaped how you see yourself today? It could be a moment that changed you, a lesson you learned from it, or how it still affects you now.
Thankfully, I was always with a sibling, so I never felt really alone. I always had my sisters with me, at least one at the time, so it was good to know that they were always there on my journey. When I was 6 years old, my sister Lupe and my sister Vanessa and I were placed into a home. And a lot of things did happen there that I wish those people were able to be held accountable. The foster brother would shower me. So he would, scrub me in places that he was not supposed to. He would also abuse me physically. So I remember he would throw me against the wall. One time he tied my shoelaces around my ankles so hard that my feet were turning purple. And he would pull my pants down and hit me on my behind with the stick repeatedly. He was very demented, very evil. And I know that my sisters at the time tried their best to protect me. But thankfully, we were able to be moved out of that home because they were weirdos. I don't know how they got their hands on other children. But that is something that did change me. And it shaped me into being the very overprotective mother that I am today. Because I know firsthand how it feels to be abused physically and mentally.
I'm going to go ahead and read Lupita's answer to that. I remember seeing my friends with their parents and seeing when I have kids, they will never feel the way I felt as a kid. Sometimes it still affects me. I feel as I still need my mom's love, but I remind myself I have what I always wanted, and that's my own little family. I've learned that my past has made me who I am today, a great mother. And I agree, sister, you are an amazing mother. Cindy's answer was honestly being placed with her foster mom. She took me in the moment that changed me, that changed my path that I was going. I was living with her for 2 weeks when I went to the mall with her because she had to pay her phone bill. And I was looking at a phone bill, looking at a phone, and I liked it. And she noticed that I was staring at it. She decided to put me on her contract, and that's not all. But I ended up running up her bill more than $100. But she didn't get mad. She paid the bill. She didn't just did it deducted from my allowance because in foster care we have allowances. She didn't ask me to do anything to pay back. And it was in that moment that I experienced true, genuine love. And what I learned from her was love, unconditional love, not love for the paycheck that she gets for every kid. All that money she gets, she puts it right back in towards kids in her daycare. She truly loved kids and asked when I learned that they are still good people in the world. And I try to still hold on to that influence that she had on me. And I hope to be as loving as her one day. Beautiful sister. Question 3 was, how did you keep your faith or hope? What gave you comfort? Was it a prayer, music, people? How you stayed strong during these hard times?
I remember I used to count on my fingers how many years I had left until I turned 18 and I can just get away. And I don't know if there was anything in specific that kept me going. I don't remember a lot of things because trauma has a way of blocking out your timeline and certain events. So it's sad to say that I can only remember most of the ugly things that I went through. And I can say that a lot of the foster parents were good to me, and I wish that I could have stayed with those foster parents. But where there's good people, there's bad people too.
I'm going to go ahead and read Lupita's answer to that question. I guess my only hope was getting picked up one day and not being in foster care anymore. But soon I realized that wasn't reality, and I had to stop waiting and just live and follow the rules. I'm going to go ahead and read Cindy's answer to that. Cindy's answer was, believe it or not, I've always talked to God in my head growing up, especially those times they said not to test God, and I wouldn't. But there's times where I really needed him, and I would pray in my head for some kind of miracle. I kid you not, one night I ran away from my group home, and I was walking in the middle of the night, and I prayed to God, like, please, God, give me a miracle, because I don't know where to go from here. I was thinking, I'll just go ahead and walk. I've done it before, I'll do it again. And there was some guy in the car that was already parked there. And he was asking where to get some weed. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on podcast, but I'm gonna say it anyways. We're a raw truth here, people. And she told him, yeah, I know where to go, So she went with him. And once he got the weed and, he told her, where do you want to go? Where do you want me to drop you off? And she just said, can you just pull over here? I'll get out. And he's like, wait, no. So my sister had to explain to him, that, he ran away from her group home and got kicked out. And, but he didn't make her feel uncomfortable until this, and he was very respectful. And to this day, she still talks to him, and, they hang out and whenever she needs him, she's able to call him, so God already automatically knows what I need. Provides so my faith is strong. I know he's there for me and he's always has my back. Yes, he does, sister. He does. Question number 4 was, what would you tell your younger self? A message of love or truth? What you wish someone would have told you?
One thing I would tell my younger self, or anybody going through the same situation, always speak up for yourself and advocate for yourself. Even if it feels like nobody else is on your side, you have rights, and there are certain protocols that the foster care system is supposed to follow. I know in my experience that they have failed me a couple times. One time I can remember that I reported physical abuse, and the social worker did come. He did speak to the person that I reported, and he spoke to me as well, and nothing happened. So I feel like maybe if they would have handled that differently, it would have saved me a lot of trauma.
I'm going to go ahead and read Lupita's answer to that question. I will tell my younger self that you're going to be okay and give her a big hug. Yes, sister, give yourself a big hug. We've been through a lot. So give that to yourself. I'm sorry, I take this a little bit more personal because Maria and Lupita didn't really grow up with my mother, and in the times that, they were young, the first time we were in the system, Maria was like 6 months old, Lupita was like 1, and then we got taken away again. As you heard earlier, they were like 3 or 4, and Maria didn't go back to my mom until she was like 9. And Lupita and Vanessa just stayed at a foster home till they were older. I think they totally emancipated. So their stories hit a little different. So if anyone out there can resonate with them, know that you're not alone. Gonna go ahead and read Cindy's answer to that. She wrote, I tell my younger self after first kicking the crap out of myself is to not be so prideful and not rush to grow up and cherish your siblings. Yeah, you're right, sister. I don't want you to beat the crap out of yourself, but the prideful part, I get. The growing up, I get. And cherish your sibling. Very true. Question number 5. What do you want people to know about our story? What makes our story powerful? Or a testimony of our story? What do you hope others feel or learn from it?
I think what makes my story powerful is that I didn't let all the horrible things that happened to me in the system consume me or define me as who I am as a adult or a mother. I know everyone handles trauma differently, and I feel for those who have turned to addictions and have serious mental health issues. I do hope that they get the help that they need. And therapy is very good. I also have a therapist that I have been speaking to since January, and letting out all the things that I've ever experienced and been through. It's relieving, because a lot of times we bury all these things, and in the hopes that it'll go away, and we think that if we don't speak about it, then it never happened to us. But that's not the case. You should be able to say your side, tell your story, even if, people won't like it or they won't relate. That's okay, because it's not their story to tell. They didn't live it, you did. So always advocate for yourself, because if you don't, nobody will. And you don't need to feel bad for it. And always hold those accountable. If there's somebody in the foster care system who is not doing their job and you don't say anything, it's just an injustice to yourself. So always do what's right for you, because in the end, you're the only person living this life, no one else.
I'm going to go ahead and read Lupita's part, her answer. She said, "We've been through so much and I'm still healing, but I know there's other people who have been through the same situations. And I know as experience, I love hearing people relate, and it makes you feel not so alone. We're not alone." Very true, sister. I'm going to go ahead and read Cindy's answer to that. It was the raw truth about everything. What makes our story powerful is that we're not the only ones that experience what we all experience. Whether together or apart, someone out there in the world been there or done that and must feel alone, like nobody would understand them. Our brother, rest in peace, struggled to tell me that he was experiencing depression, and the relief on his face when I told him that it was normal and everyone on this planet experiences it one point or another in their life. I know there's a lot of people who would hopefully learn from our experiences and break their generational curse. I asked my sisters to end with, "Thank you for listening to my part of our story."
Thank you for listening to my part of our story. Free Palestine.
And Lupita was, "Thank you for listening to my part of the story. I am 8 out of 9. And Cindy's is, "This is 4 out of 9. And thank you for listening to my part of our story." As we close today, this episode, I just want to say thank you to my sisters for opening up and letting their words be a part of the space, this platform, even when it wasn't easy. It's not easy for me either, because reading their story, their answers, hits different. And I know it took a lot out of them. Every piece that was shared today matters. And the pieces that are still quiet, they matter too. And hopefully, in the future to come, Darlene and Vanessa can be able to tell their side of the story. And if they can't, that's okay also. Healing has its own rhythm. Sometimes we speak, sometimes we listen, and sometimes we just hold the space until we are ready. So to my sisters and to anyone listening who's carrying their own story, may you give yourself permission to share when you can, and give yourself grace for when you can't. I hope that this episode gave you guys more of a perspective or a point of view, and how it all affects us in some way or somehow. And I mentioned before, the foster care system, we have been given a statistic, but it shows people out there that are just like us as foster kids that we can make it. We might have issues. We might have mommy, daddy issues. We can have all types of issues. In my case, I had all of those, and I do well with chaos. I don't do great with silence and quiet and peace. So it's hard for me to rewire that within myself. I'm finally in a safe space where I'm able to have how I feel, and it's a beautiful thing. And that goes well with my sisters. They have their own story to tell. And again, I'm thankful that they did that here. If you haven't seen my other episodes, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Spotify. I am also on TikTok and Instagram at Softdayss.Podcast. There will be no faces on this one today. It was a lot of back and forth. So you guys are going to just get a voice recording. I'm still going to add it on YouTube, for all the YouTubers following me. And also this episode was sponsored by AHJ Oil Distribution, your one-stop shop for oils, filters, and batteries. Our address is located at 9783 Alder Avenue, Bloomington, California, 92316. Go ahead and stop on by. Thank you for being here with us and for holding this conversation with so much grace and love. Peace, love, and light. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.